What we are very proud of now, the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, that we penetrate the cabinets.
I also want to reiterate how deeply sorry Canada is for the situation this put President Zelensky and the Ukrainian delegation in. It is extremely troubling to think that this egregious error is being politicized by Russia and its supporters to provide false propaganda about what Ukraine is fighting for.
Why does this government treat Alberta like a fart in the room that nobody wants to talk about or acknowledge?
I heard her say a word that I know is distinctly unparliamentary, and I think she may want to withdraw it. The word was F-A-R-T.
I mean, we love your Mr. Trudeau. I mean, his family's always been such big fans about that.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Happy holidays if you celebrate it. I am your host, Snow Himbo, in this unbelievably unhinged sweater because fuck it. And this is my homie Yeti Jesus. It is Monday, December 23rd. This is the second last show of 2024. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight. Hope everybody's having a good holiday season. I was given some much needed time off work, so I've been doing nothing but playing video games and playing with the dog and shit posting and just trying to enjoy some time off. Because realistically, I honestly did not realize how burned out I was until I actually started taking time off. How many days have I had off now? 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's just my 4th day off. I've got until the 30th, and then I go back to work for 2 days, and then it's New Year's, and then I guess we're into 2025. So yeah, how you been holding up, man?
Really good. I've almost got the cabin fully insulated. Well, I've got the cabin insulated. I just have to throw up vapor barrier, and then it's basically livable. And I'm gonna run some power and stuff to it from my solar and stuff like that. But it's pretty much close to go. I've been lucky enough to have someone that came and just dropped off their keys to their house to me one day. So we stayed here for the last 2 days. Because I've been transitioning from the yurt to the house, and then we got a pretty good snowfall. So I drove by the yurt the other day and it was collapsed. So
oh no,
probably better to be here.
Yeah, no doubt. We had a big snowfall today, and I was actually excited because I was like, sweet, I can get my cardio in. Because if you have a really long fucking driveway, that's that's premium cardio. You're gonna be winded by the end of that. Unless it's really light snow and you just push it along. But if you've got to dig in and it was some good exercise. So unfortunately, my efforts were for nothing because I just recently looked. Yeah, I looked outside. All of the snow is just done. All of my work has been undone, which is. I mean, at least we're having a white Christmas. I'm kind of sentimental with that, at least. But yeah. Anyway, hope everybody's having a good holiday. The reason I kind of named this episode what I did was that I don't know if this is if more people are feeling it, but it's I'm just kind of not feeling the Christmas spirit or whatever this year. I'm not feeling. I don't know. It just maybe it's all the crazy chaos going on in the world, or it's the everyday burdens that we all share under late stage capitalism. But I'm not. I miss having that weird feeling where it's just it's the holidays. Let's just hang out. Let's hang out with family. Let's you know, there's like a comfort that no longer exists, at least for me. It's kind of like,
What?
and
No, I was gonna say when I was younger, I remember for like the 2 weeks leading up to Christmas, you were going to like places every few days, and then like the last like week, it's like every day you're at someone's house. And it just doesn't seem to happen as much anymore.
no, I think that's a stark kind of. I think that's a stark indication of how we're doing, like just materially. You know, people don't really have enough like extra dollars to kind of throw around during the holidays. You know, a lot of companies don't really give Christmas bonuses. I didn't get one.
Yeah.
And you know, I feel like people just everybody I've talked to, they're just not feeling it. And you know, for us it's a little bittersweet and gloomy because it's going on like the year anniversary of losing our father-in-law, so that kind of sucks a lot.
Mhm.
But you know, in
I'm
general,
sorry
I've
to hear
just yeah, it is what it is, just a day at a time. But you know, more so than that, everybody I've talked to is kind of in the same boat where they're just not feeling it. And I miss that feeling of just like kind of, you know, enjoying the holidays, even if you're not religious or anything, just kind of enjoying the season. It's always felt like a bit of a reprieve from, you know, the daily grind and everyday like worries and fears going on in the world. And it feels like in a lot of ways, you know, you just don't have that like reprieve anymore. I don't feel like it's a reprieve. I feel like I'm just waiting to go back to work because you know, there's going to be a pile of work to do, and you know, um, and I
yeah,
mean, what's really sorry,
no, I was gonna say it's really sad though, because you're correct. People are just so much at their like, I mean, pretty close to their wits' end, really. And it's like you said, it's like where you're just going back to work. It's like you need more holiday to get over it, but it's like there's just not that extra time anymore because people are just so like it's pedal to the metal, and it's you go go go, and then when you finally do stop, your body's like, ugh. But then it's like it takes your body almost a few days to kind of like realize that it can relax now. And by the time you do that, it's like go back to work. Like,
yep. And I mean, also, it's just like I remember when the state of the world in general was just in a less insane space. It feels like the last bunch of years, it's just, you know, everybody just kind of got this anxiety of waiting for the other shoe to drop.
yeah,
Especially now with like, I don't know, there's like 12 plates spinning right now. Um, you know, the Western world is on the brink of this like giant rightward shift at like the worst time for a rightward shift, possibly in the history of mankind. This is
yeah,
like the worst time for people to get psyoped into supporting these clowns. And yet across North America, across the West, we're just seeing this flood of like reactionary politics as we've covered here on the channel. But in addition to that, you've got the ever-present like looming threat of World War III. You've got I'm seeing a lot of people get like panicky about, you know, other diseases circulating, and it's probably bringing back some like, you know, trauma.
yeah.
You know, there's still an ongoing genocide that nobody wants to really deal with, and you know, that's not to say anything about people's material conditions. The fact that, you know, at the end of the day, you're just not able to stretch your dollar as far as you used to be able to, which is never enjoyable.
Well, and like the value of the dollar is just like kind of figuratively and technically it's fallen, if you know what I mean. Because like the value of our dollar is nowhere near what it used to be worth. And it's
Mm-hmm.
we're not people aren't making enough money to like get by. It's just people are not being paid enough. And part of the reason is we're funding all of our very rich corporations with our tax dollars and getting nothing for return of it. But people seem like to think anytime you want to talk about controlling corporations more, that's somehow communism. Like
every time.
right? Like,
And I
prefer
think
fascism to communism because they have no idea what it is, too. And I'm not saying I'm for one. Well,
and I feel like that's very much by design, because, like, you know, every time anyone suggests regulating a corporation or regulating one industry or another, you see these like conservative like sock puppets pop up all over social media and scream that it's like the worst thing ever. You know, despite all of the evidence to the contrary of their frantic protestations.
mhm.
But you know, it's I feel like that's very much by design. It's, you know, we need to, here in Canada, you kind of need to let the haves, the have-yachts, if you will, you know, basically operate without accountability, and then essentially all us people on the bottom here, we kind of just got to figure it out. And I feel like that's what most people are really upset over.
Yeah.
But without
Well,
further
yeah.
ado,
Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I would say more people are starting to realize that, because even things like the guys on the right were like, we got to use paper straws, but Taylor Swift's flying around. It's like, huh? You're getting it at least. You're starting to see the
Yeah.
problem.
They're starting to see the problem, but the problem is like the commonality between like liberal propaganda and conservative propaganda, the commonality they share is they're great at pointing out actual problems. They're great at pointing out hypocrisy. They're great at pointing out corruption. They're great at pointing out all those things. Where they get you is they get you on board by pointing out all these problems, and you agree with the problems. So you're like, yeah, I'm on board. We agree on the problem. But then where they get you is the solution. Because with Polyev, like a lot of the shit he's saying about the Liberal government and Trudeau, it's valid. It's true.
Yeah.
It's not incorrect.
Agreed.
But his solution is like, his solution isn't going to fix the problem. We'll get into that later. But that's where they get you.
Mhm.
However, we do have a good show for y'all tonight. I wanted to start with something that Yeti shared with me here that I thought was just beautiful. Just right here. Oh shit, where's the... Oh. Hold on. You have to reshare that. What is with the sound? There we go. Okay. Okay, we're back. Alrighty. So this is the state of Justin Trudeau as of this moment.
Fucking scumbag! You're garbage! You're garbage! Justin, where's my tax money? Where's my tax money? Fuck Trudeau! You fucking piece of shit! Fuck you! Fuck Trudeau!
love the generated captions. Jesus Christ of lies. You're a fucking dude or whatever. That's great. But yeah, that's the level of like vitriol people have for this prime minister. And
people are angry.
Oh, they're really mad. As of yesterday, CBC itself was forced to break this. Most liberals in caucus want Trudeau to go, says longtime loyalist. Leadership change needs to happen. Now, I find this interesting given the developments in the States with Biden, that they want like yet another neoliberal leader to kind of just move aside so they can like shift their cabinet and try and recover somewhat. There's no alternative but to have the leadership change now. The Ontario MP for Nepean told CBC chief political correspondent Rosemary Barton Sunday. He was responding to a question about what was discussed at a virtual meeting of the Ontario Liberal Caucus on Saturday morning. Sources told CBC News that more than 50 Liberal MPs came to a consensus that Justin Trudeau needs to step down as party leader during a meeting of the party's largest regional caucus. The abrupt departure from cabinet on Monday of former Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, which we covered last week here, prompted a growing tide of MPs to call for Trudeau to go. The public count is currently at 21. Quebec Liberal MP Anthony Housefather, what a last name, Housefather. That's so cool. It's like, were you just the father of the house and that's how your surname originated? And just a long list of house fathers right after that? Or is that what we're doing here? Or damn. He said the vast majority.
He's a huge Zionist.
Yeah. Well, of course he is. They all are, sadly. I think we've only had a handful of people that actually called it genocide over in Gaza. To his credit, Jagmeet was one of them. He was one of the people to call it a genocide, and he got just meltdowns across the conservative apparatus, because of course they're all in the tank for Israel. Same thing with most liberals. So he said the vast majority of people he's talking to believe the prime minister should resign whether they've gone public or not. Trudeau remaining as leader puts the party in an impossible situation. Again, like, this sounds exactly identical to the kind of verbiage they were using with Brandon. One where the leader becomes the ballot issue. There are many people who would vote for the Liberal Party but don't want to vote for the leader, Housefather added. Freeland, best person for the job. Oh my fucking God.
That's why she stepped down. I see.
That might actually be why she stepped down.
Well, I figured there was something off with it.
I did too, and I mean, the original story of like him asking her to be a different position and her being like, well, I'm just going to have to step down then. That was a little weird. So the fact that they're pushing Freeland, I mean, realistically, are we just looking at a Kamala Harris Part 2 sort of situation where like,
yeah, pretty much. I think so.
This like question mark that doesn't really stand for a lot of anything is just going to come up.
She even has the weird cackle. It's perfect.
Yeah. She's just going to like pretend to run and then just hand the whole thing over to the conservatives. This is such like I feel like the liberals in general in the West are just like, they're just taking a dive. They're just like, fuck it, just let's do the conservative thing, whatever. We're tired of pretending to care about the working class. I think that might actually be where they're at.
Too. Like, it has to be overtly intentional because they're just doing it so badly. Part of my tinfoil brain wonders that if it is intentional, because like Kamala Harris ran a historic, like,
there's no reason for how bad they ran that campaign. Like, what? You're running with the Cheneys? What are we doing?
Yeah.
And up here too, this seems like equally as unbelievably silly. We need the Prime Minister to go now so we can set forth the leadership process, House Father said, adding he thinks the Liberal caucus could elect an interim leader in a day while a leadership process takes place. Arya said he absolutely thinks Freeland is the person to step up given her track record of negotiating during Trump's administration. Okay, so they're worried. They're worried about Trump, which I get. I've gone on record saying that I think the Trump administration has a much more nefarious purpose. I don't know if the tariff stuff is going to amount to anything. Obviously, it would be disastrous not just for Canadians, but more so for Americans. All those costs are just going straight to the consumer. So
yeah, like every time, right? Same thing as like ordering stuff from China. You got to pay tariffs. Like, what happened to free trade? Do you guys what's free? What?
Yeah, because like companies are not going to pay that. In fact, I'm going to call it now. If these tariffs become a reality, we're going to see a lot of corporations kind of raising it a little higher and then just going, oh, but the tariffs, we got to raise it this high. And it's probably going to be higher than what they need to kind of even it out. But again, like we live in the land of Loblaws where they're just like, fuck you, eggs are $500 now. We don't care.
Yeah.
That's kind of the sad reality we persist under.
I've already got organized chickens for next year. One of the guys that helped me with the house is gonna actually birth some chickens this year. So.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
A cow, and I'm sitting pretty.
I feel like that's the only option we're going to be faced with. We're going to have to force ourselves to be completely self-sustainable because, like, I don't know what else people are supposed to do. But the NDP piped in too. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh penned a letter on Friday vowing to bring forward a motion of non-confidence to take down the Liberal government. This is the first time he said he would do so. It's not clear when that would happen or if he would support one of the other opposition parties' motions. The Liberals don't deserve another chance, Singh's letter said. I called for Justin Trudeau to resign, and he should. Justin Trudeau failed in the biggest job a prime minister has, to work for people, not the powerful. The NDP will vote to bring this government down and give Canadians a chance to vote for a government who will work for them. Fellow Canadians.
Statement, but
of course.
But yeah, it's the same thing. Like, it just seems like a song and dance all the time with all these people. They're not doing anything productive for us. They're just wasting our time now.
It's so silly to me because, like, the NDP has so much potential as a party, and so much of it is just unbelievably squandered. It reminds me of kind of the Green Party in the States, where it's just like, you could be so much better, so much more than this, that I almost wonder if you guys just exist to kind of block any like progressive movement in that direction. Because goddamn, like, you are not meeting this moment.
No.
Let's read this. Let's read this letter that was penned on Friday. Fellow Canadians, the Canadian dream is a good job that gets you a home and a fridge full of groceries with enough left over to save for vacations. Yeah, nobody's there, my guy. A country where healthcare is always there as soon as you need it. I believe every Canadian deserves that. The Trudeau Liberals said a lot of the right things. Then they let people down again and again. Justin Trudeau failed in the biggest job a prime minister has, to work for the people, not the powerful, to focus on Canadians, not themselves. The Liberals don't deserve another chance. That's why the NDP will vote to bring this government down and give Canadians a chance to vote for a government who will work for them. No matter who is leading the Liberal Party, this government's time is up. We will put forward a clear motion of non-confidence in the next sitting of the House of Commons. I called for Justin Trudeau to resign, and he should. He can't fix healthcare. He can't build homes you can afford. He can't lower your bills. I have always fought for people. I fought like hell to get dental care, free birth control, and diabetes medication. I didn't give up when Justin Trudeau said no, and I won't let Pierre Poilievre take it all away. The next fight is a big one. Huh?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, what were you asking?
I was going to say, when did he get us dental care again?
It's not like dental care for everybody. Of course it wouldn't be, because like I have more dental work to be done, and I'm waiting until the new year so that my benefits reset. It's for like a small group of people. But again, like, they'll never say that. They'll just be like, I got dental care. And that's it. They never like say any of the caveats, which is like, oh, this only applies to like this little group of people over here, because I don't want to fight to get everybody dental care. Yeah. The next fight is a big one. Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives will give CEOs and big business anything they want and make callous cuts to pay for it. They'll cut healthcare, childcare, housing, and people's pensions. All 100% true. That is correct. That is absolutely what we're looking at in the future. The end goal of Canadian Conservatives has always been to privatize our healthcare system completely. The end goal of Canadian Conservatives has always been to turn us into like America Junior. That's always been the end goal. They look at America not as a massive failed project that is rapidly declining into dust and whoppers.
Well, and most of the Canadians that see the States are the people that go down there for vacations. We see the glitz and the glamour. Most of us are staying in like relatively nice hotels. We're going on a nice vacation. You don't see like, you don't drive downtown LA and see how like off every freeway is garbage.
Yeah. Or like the 10 cities, or any of the crippling poverty. You don't actually live there. And I feel like a lot of these weird Canadian...
Go down there and look at their social services buildings. They look like the buildings are on social services.
Yeah. Like, it's bad. And further to that, in more addition to it, I mean, a lot of these Canadian Conservatives, they almost like act like they wish they were American. It's really weird. It's like, bro, especially with all this talk of like making Canada like the 51st state, or like annexing Canada, which is weirdly a part of like the Fallout lore. You know, it's like, what are we doing here? Do you just want like, because America has all the same problems Canada does. They just have like crippling debt for healthcare on top of that. That's it. Yeah. That's what you want to become. You just want to have the exact same problems, the exact same wealth inequality, the exact same housing crisis, the exact same ineffective politicians who work for lobbyists and billionaires, the exact same disastrous foreign policy, except it's going to be worse if you're part of the States. You're like the like champion of atrocious foreign policy.
Well, and I think part of it is they buy what America says, and they also, I think what they think is the way their healthcare is set up now through their companies is just going to change with the new healthcare system. Well, your company isn't going to suddenly just pay out hundreds of thousands of dollars more a year to appease you. You're going to suddenly have to pay for their healthcare costs.
Yeah.
Like that cost of healthcare is like $1,000 in the States a month. It's crazy.
Yep. All right, so the TLDR, Trudeau is said to be reflecting on his political future. The Prime Minister is in the National Capital Region on Sunday with no public events listed on his itinerary. I'm gonna call it. I don't think this. I don't. Trudeau's too much of a narcissist to step down. I think they're literally going to have to drag him out. They're going to have to. Hey, Nahilo, sorry guys. Maybe for us in the West, it is the first time for us to feel unstable. Maybe that'll do it.
Well, and he is such a narcissist, right? So he'll never admit that he's caused any problems. Look at the
That's why I don't think he'll.
Clean.
Yeah, that's why I don't think he'll ever step down. I think it's going to very much be like a Biden-like situation where they're going to have to literally force him out. They're going to have to be like, no, you're out of the party. Get out. Go away. And even then, he might like pull some vindictive. I don't know. I just think this guy, Trudeau's one of those people who like he cares more about power and his image than anything else. He wants the control that he has right now, and it's like an existential crisis for him to lose that. Because to a lot of narcissists, control is like one of the prime aims. You need control over your entire environment. And to lose any semblance of that control is like it's like an extremely emotionally distressing process. So that's where we're at there. I did want to move on to doing a live reading of a really cool article that I saw here on rabble.ca by Aaron Blondeau. This was written just the 19th, so that was the last Thursday. It's called Yuletide Lessons for Our Political Moment. Come with me through this Yuletide tale as we draw lessons from this political moment and rekindle a sense of hope. And I just personally thought this article was really cool. I think it was really thoughtful, and I did like the spin on kind of providing a bit of a white pill to the endless stream of black pills that everybody's just swallowing these days as the world gets worse and worse with nobody having any clear idea of how to dig ourselves out of this hole. On the longest night of the year, a procession of wicked creatures fiercely takes over the horizon on their galloping ghost horses. Hooves smash the midnight sky, echoing through the empty streets. Families huddle together in candlelit rooms as the smell of a crackling Yule log lingers in the air. There are lessons to learn in these moments of quiet and togetherness. The figures in the sky are spirits from another realm, harbingers of death and destruction to come. This is the Wild Hunt. No, not the Witcher game. An ancient Yuletide legend that has captured the minds of poets, academics, and folklorists for centuries. Interpretations of the story are varied. Some say it is led by Odin, the Norse god, along with his ghost riders, to capture the souls of those who cause harm. Others say it is an army of women blessing good homes or cursing the cruel and greedy. Legendary folklorist Jacob Grimm modified the folktale in the 1835 book Deutsche Mythology, taking his own liberties and twisting it to suit his personal beliefs. According to folklore historian Ronald Hutton, Grimm manufactured his own telling of the Wild Hunt legend, veering from disjointed folk stories common in pagan societies towards themes of racial superiority, nationalism, and militarism. Upon reading about the Wild Hunt, I found myself asking, what moments of teaching do we have in our modern era? When politicians attack teachers and ban books and disregard the desire to change as too radical. The pain and discomfort that we experience in our day-to-day lives have been normalized, but a pause and some contemplation over this year's solstice could help us emerge from this darkness differently. We have been severed from our connection to the planet and its life waves, with capitalism and imperialism keeping us distracted and divided. Taking a moment to pause gives an opportunity to rethread that connection. Disconnection. Capitalism is a deeply individualistic system that has normalized disconnection and apathy towards suffering. We can see this hyper-individualism illustrated all times of the year, but especially now with the contradictions of Canadian Christmas. Pop culture and movies brand the holiday season as a time of gift-giving, of counting blessings, and of gratitude for family. And yet, these customs don't apply to everyone. Christmas hampers are gathered for those in need, but for the rest of the year, those people are nothing more than a nuisance, or the test subjects of some forced institutionalization and psychiatric incarceration. Politicians smile in photo ops with their canned goods to deliver to the poor, but then go on to advocate for policies that criminalize poverty. Would the ghostwriters of The Wild Hunt give this hypocrisy a pass? Blustery, dangerous, and deadly cold. Canada does not have a solution for its people on the streets, despite considering itself a nation of tolerance. In reality, people are turned away from overflowing shelters. Even finding a space to offer refuge is a struggle for extreme weather shelters, not because there is a shortage of space, but because neighboring residents often oppose it. In 2023, the Cowichan Valley Community Center on Vancouver Island used one of its rooms as an emergency shelter from the cold, but parents whose children play sports in the nearby arena objected. In a moral panic, the local hockey association and others argued their reasons for opposing the shelter. The potential for death and human suffering mattered less than their discomfort in witnessing the depths of poverty caused by late-stage capitalism. Cold is extremely dangerous and people die without shelter, but the state does nothing meaningful to solve it. In 2023, a story broke in the CVC that revealed how common frostbite and amputation is among people living on the street in the cold winter months, with a dramatic spike in amputations in 2021 and 2022. Being in community and camping together reduces the risk of death and violent assaults for unhoused people, especially in winter. The Canadian Human Rights Commission released a report in February 2024 explaining that encampments are a way for unhoused people to claim their human rights and meet their most basic needs. Knowing this, police still obey orders to violently displace unhoused people by conducting inhumane raids and brutal street sweeps on encampments, breaking up encampments, disposing of personal items in tents, and relocating people perpetuates trauma among already marginalized and stigmatized communities and can even lead to death. Violent displacement does not solve poverty. It does not solve homelessness. This cruelty is avoidable if only political will existed. Where is the political will? Any progress made towards alleviating poverty has been violently incremental, causing what Frederick Engels, okay, this is starting to sound like some commie talk. This is some communism, brother. I'm sorry, if you're referring to Engels, you're at least Marx curious. Social murder. I talked about this with regards to the Luigi Mangione trial. In Snow Himble Streams, if you guys want to look that up. But social murder is referring to deaths that are not directly caused, but indirectly caused due to societal policies. Deaths is a great example of social murder because that ends up killing people, but it's legal. It's okay. The death is not illegal, but it still happens. In the Yuletide Wild Hunt, murderous souls would be swept up as the ultimate form of cosmic justice. In our world, it seems as though justice never comes. Though harmful and violent dogma should be challenged and critiqued, we should also realize that disputes among us, the working class, only benefit fascist politicians and billionaires. What we are Busy battling over ideology, sometimes with good reason, the ultra-rich keep getting richer and benefiting from the resurgence of neo-fascism, brought in by theatrical and deceitful politicians. Authoritarian figures like Donald Trump, Elon Musk, John Rustad, and Pierre Poilievre use fascist tactics like undermining and defunding education, attacking the free press, encouraging ultranationalism, and scapegoating immigrants. That's like half of his fucking platform, just like Trump's, and indigenous peoples, to keep their voter base in a constant mode of distrust and division. This keeps the power balance working in their favor. This isn't the first time in human history where oligarchs thought they could rule society in whatever way they pleased. In the medieval period, there would have been communal uprisings and revolts against this type of oppression. Of course, and I love this part, it's not just far-right politicians who are to blame for the current state of affairs. Liberal-leaning politicians like Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh use progressive language and co-opting of collectivist values to hide their pro-corporate interests that only benefit the elite. Politicians who do advocate for causes that challenge the social hierarchy have limited power and influence in the colonial establishment, and can even find themselves kicked out of caucus if they express views that do not align with the party leadership. Such as was the case for MPP Sarah Jama, who spoke out against Israeli violence in Gaza. No, the Liberals won't make us eat bugs, as the Conservative Party claims. They do not care what we eat or if we eat at all. Food insecurity in Canada has become so severe that the 18th century meth disease scurvy has re-emerged. Canada's political parties are sending us messages about how bad the future will be unless we cast our vote for them. But things are bad enough now. No party is offering the real transformative solutions we need to navigate the polycrises. I'm stealing that word. Polycrises? That's a great word. I don't think I've ever used that word before. Polycrises. I'm keeping it. That are threatening our survival. Yeah, that are threatening our survival as a species. We can't succumb to their identity politicking any longer. The climate crisis is perhaps the most existential manifestation of political abandonment. Scientists have known for decades that pollution from capitalist industry, the military-industrial complex, and unfettered consumerism has a devastating warming effect on our planet that is leading to biodiversity collapse. And yet they have done nothing to adequately stop the problem. As our animal kin and the planet warn us of the coming ecological disasters, the billionaire class continues to pollute and destroy the earth as they see fit. But one day, perhaps, they will understand that climate change will transcend class borders. Our wild hunt is social uprising. The cruelty and barbarism that the world is experiencing, from wars and genocide to the class struggle at home in Canada, has unleashed something that oligarchs perhaps did not intend. A deep rage at the machine, the whispers of class consciousness. In 2024, students around the world occupied universities to demand divestment from the Israeli apartheid machine. It was no business as usual while Palestinians are slaughtered in Gaza, and while our nations fund ecocide, scholasticide, and, yes, genocide. On December 5th, Amnesty International concluded Israel's actions in Gaza as a genocide. Amnesty International asks the questions we should all be asking. What have our political leaders done? What are the worldly institutions doing to end this genocide and hold its inflictors accountable? We must demand justice. In the words of Amnesty International's Secretary General Agnes Callamard, no war criminal should ever be allowed to walk free, undisturbed, fearless. Let's put all our instruments into action. National tribunals, International Criminal Court, universal jurisdiction. The wild hunt is coming. There are other forms of resistance brewing too. All across the country, Canada's United Postal Workers, CUPW, are fighting the gigification of essential public services, writes striking letter carrier Kieran Delamont. Though the media and Canada Post attempt to paint the strike as greedy, it is more than just a dispute over wages. It is workers taking a principled stand against the oppression of the capitalist system that insists on the ongoing erosion of workers' rights. CUPW is fighting for job security rather than the precarious gig economy that prioritizes profits for CEOs over the well-being and sustainability of workers. The Labour Minister and the Canadian Industrial Relations Board has ordered postal workers to return to work without meeting the demands of the union, which it describes in a recent statement as the right to fight for fair wages, safe working conditions, and to retire with dignity. Do not listen to the billionaires and ideologues who seek to divide. It should not be woke to stand in solidarity, to care for each other, to want our relatives to live long and dignified lives, to reconnect with the earth. It should not be radical to reclaim what we are owed: profits from the products we produce, safe and affordable housing, access to healthy outdoor spaces, free public transportation that can take us anywhere, free education, free baby formula and other essential items, and the ability to thrive in the world that we have built, us, the workers. Not Justin Trudeau of the Laurentian elite, not Pierre Poilievre, the career politician. Us, the plumbers, the estheticians, the teachers, the doctors, the nurses, the electricians, the factory workers, the caregivers, the janitors, the community leaders, the mental health workers, the writers, the knowledge keepers. This winter solstice is the darkness before a period of renewal. May we show the oligarchs that we will one day soon lead our own wild hunt, to restore our connection with the planet and with each other. That's by Erin Blondeau. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. She's a pretty prominent writer here on Rabble.ca. Always love me some Rabble. But
no, she's right on point too.
Yeah, that was really good. That was like super good. And I found it at least like a little bit uplifting in this moment, at least, because it's so easy to get caught in like these negative spirals of everything you're seeing the wealthy get magnitudes richer every single year, while you're sitting here going, okay, what things can I cut from our budget so that we don't wind up on the street next month? You know?
Yeah.
It's unhinged. Yeah. But yeah. I do want to finish up tonight by going over pretty much Pierre Poilievre's entire personality, which is axe the tax, and break down the carbon tax, and discuss a couple points about this, because this is essentially like the main thing he's running on. He's claiming that if we axe the tax, life's going to magically become more affordable. Spoiler alert, that's not going to fucking happen.
No, just the profits will kill up.
But I like to break a couple. There's a couple parts to this that I'd like to go over. What has he got here?
You hire clowns, you get a circus. But no one should be laughing, because there are real consequences for yesterday's chaotic, liberal clown show. These are the consequences. The deficit is 50% higher than we were promised. Our dollar has plunged below 70 cents American for the first time in ages, which means more expensive fuel, food, clothing, and materials for things like automobiles. It means our people will be poorer and the dollars they worked so hard to earn are worth less. The real consequences of yesterday's clown show are playing out in tragedies right across this country. But before we talk about those tragedies, let's talk about this incredible, ridiculous, embarrassing Liberal day on Parliament Hill. Let's capture the story here for a second. The world markets were watching to find out the size of our deficit. Remember, Chrystia Freeland, after helping Justin Trudeau double the national debt, add more debt than all prior prime ministers combined, said we can't go beyond the $40 billion guardrail, or else we'll go off the cliff. But throughout the year, with the prompting of Carbon Tax Carney, Trudeau's #1 economic advisor, he kept pushing his finance minister further and further leftward. More spending for this or that political gimmick, costly political gimmick, if I can use the words of Ms. Freeland. Again and again, he grabbed the wheel of the financial bus and jerked it to the left with the enthusiastic encouragement of Carbon Tax Carney. And as we were approaching the fall update, he grabbed the wheel entirely, jerked it to the left, smashed the bus through the guardrail and off the cliff. And then he thought he would blame Chrystia Freeland for it all and put in Carbon Tax Carney. They had a deal that he would take Chrystia Freeland's job. Well, when Carney saw how bad it all looked, he said, I no longer want the job. So just blame Chrystia Freeland and make her wear it all. Some feminist. The same week as Trudeau was insulting Americans for not electing a woman president, he was busy throwing his own woman deputy prime.
Okay, I can only handle so much like reactionary slop. But that's just a bit of a sample. Yeah.
He's just like, he's reading a script and he's just trying to throw words in that he hopes will stick.
It's so dopey. But I want to break down this carbon tax thing because every single, and I've talked to like people in meat space in real life, and it's remarkable. Talk to people at, social gatherings, talk to family, friends. I know conservatives. I know a lot of conservatives. And they bring up the carbon tax thing. And I ask them, what do you know about the carbon tax? And their answers boil down to, well, Pierre was talking about it and it's bad. It's costing us money. And that's it. That's like, I feel like a lot of people, and conservatives are great at this. Trump does this with immigrants. Okay? It's like, you're poor, there's all these problems, your problems are valid, immigrants, that's the problem. Or like the trans agenda or whatever, or like, like the wokeness is the problem. All the standard conservative tropes. And they'll point to an object. They'll get you to focus on a shiny object and go, this is the source of all of your problems. And for PP and his party, that's the carbon tax. That's their #1 thing. He can't go a sentence without saying axe the tax. I think it's a form of Tourette's, actually. It's got to be some kind of like tick that he's got where he's just like, how was your day, Pierre? Oh, it was good. I went fishing and axe the tax. Axe the tax. Like, yeah. I think he's about there. He might be a robot. I'm not sure. So I'm just gonna go over. John Barlow is a great propagandist here. This one's from October. But it's a good example, I think.
Food. The NDP Liberal government is not worth the cost of food. The food professor estimates that between 2022 and...
I'm sorry for more PP, but we need a little bit more PP. That's what she said.
2025, the cost of food will be up 34%. That's a time that coincides exactly with the NDP Liberal coalition. Coincidentally, the NDP leader's chief spokesman and brother, his company is a lobbyist for Metro. But the food professor blames the increase on carbon taxes. Carbon taxes on farmers and truckers who bring us our food. Before Canadians go hungry, why won't the Prime Minister allow a carbon tax election so Canadians can axe the tax?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, farmers across this country are feeling the impacts of the extreme weather events that come from climate change, whether it's droughts or wildfires or floods. We are seeing the costs of climate change every single day. And we put forward a price on pollution that not only brings down emissions and creates more solutions and economic growth, it also puts more money in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadians right across the country. It's the Parliamentary Budget Officer who says that. We're going to continue to fight climate change while the leader opposite wants to abandon the fight against climate change.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister loves to blame the rest of the world for the rampant food price inflation here at home. But the food professor proves that narrative false. He has calculated that food prices have risen 36% faster in Canada than in the United States of America. What does Canada have that the Americans don't have? 2 words: carbon tax. So instead of forcing Canadians to line up at food banks, why won't he let them line up to vote in a carbon tax election?
Now, there was a good clap back here. Overall inflation rate in 2022. Germany, no carbon tax, 7.9%. USA, no carbon tax, 8.0%. Australia, no carbon tax, 6.6%. Spain, no carbon tax, 8.3%. Brazil, no carbon tax, 9.3%. Egypt, no carbon tax, 13.9%. Canada, carbon tax, 6.8%. Stop lying to Canadians. And I looked those numbers up. Feel free to fact check me, everybody here. I did look them up and I confirmed them to be true because this is just like a dog on Twitter. He said he sucks at picking, so I'm going to take his word for it. I can't imagine there be any similarities between all these countries. Oh, right, they're all capitalist countries. That can't be the reason, though. It's the carbon tax. It's definitely the carbon tax. But I would like to point out a little bit of hypocrisy from PP and his Harper Curious agenda. Where is it? Here it is. Axe it, but you work so hard.
I should mention that while our plan will effectively establish a price on carbon of $65 a ton, growing to that rate over the next decade, our plan will compel industry not just to pay for their carbon emissions, but to actually reduce them. Industry has told us they want and they need certainty. Our framework provides that.
And yes, the hypocrisy is fucking staggering. But I've kind of said here and there that conservative propaganda only works when you have the brain of a goldfish in terms of memory. Because you can look back not too far into the past and find just a blatant contradiction.
Clear targets, realistic timelines, fair across-the-board application. Now industry knows what they need to do and when they need to do it. I should mention that while our plan will...
So, that's kind of interesting. To me, at least, that now carbon tax is a problem.
Well, it's because it's a different time. It's not convenient now.
Exactly. That's kind of... It's convenient because you need to blame something other than the state of the economic system we live under for why you're poor and you can't afford anything, can't buy a home, can't find somewhere to rent, can't pay for your groceries. Conservatives need to blame something on an external object and not blame the system, because they uphold that system, because they are all in bed with the people who benefit from that system, which is not you or me. But this is fucking funny. I just found this really funny. New study, universal basic income is by far the most popular way of going about a carbon tax. We compare voter support for 5 different carbon pricing schemes. We show that uniform carbon dividends, equal per capita transfers to all citizens, receive substantially more support than a carbon dividend that favors poorer people, than earmarking revenues for climate projects, and especially than using revenues for the general government budget. This is a study from Nature. So that's pretty fucking funny. Now, here, this is kind of the breakdown and the conclusion I've arrived to as well. Now, I don't want anybody to get me wrong here. I don't support a carbon tax because I don't believe in putting the costs on a consumer. I think that is a way to get around the government regulating the industries that are responsible for the worst emissions. It is a way to get around actually doing your fucking job as government and ensuring that the proper channels are penalized for their contributions. Military-industrial complex, big business, big oil. Let's take the fight to the people who are actually directly responsible for this. But forcing like working class people to just have pay more, that's not a solution. That's not a solution. It's the same thing as like just perpetually taxing cigarettes more and more and more and more. Like, you'll see some people. Yeah, you'll see some people quit, but I mean, the majority of smokers I know who aren't base like me and switch to vaping, well, actually, they either switch to vaping, which is also getting taxed up the ass, or they go the native smoke route, or they just pay more. They're not quitting smoking. Isn't you need like government support if you want to get people off cigarettes. And it's the same thing with a carbon tax. This isn't a solution. And this is like the thing. I'm not one of these people who's like, climate change isn't real. I'm one of these people who's like, I don't have any faith in any of the people talking the loudest about this issue, in them actually solving it. Because they're never going to go for the main vectors of the problem. And whether you believe in it or not, whether you believe in climate change or not, these are all industries, by the way, that should have better regulation, period. Period. It doesn't matter. Say climate change is completely fake. Okay, pollution. Do you at least believe in pollution? Okay, good. Most people do. There should be better regulation across the board there. We have giant garbage islands. We got microplastics all over the place. There's oil spills. The Nord Stream pipeline disaster was the worst ecological disaster in our lifetime. Like, there needs to be much bigger, better regulation. Period. Regardless of your personal beliefs in the matter. But I wanna point out this account that kind of mirrored my own thoughts on the matter at the end of the day. This is Ecology Action Center, EAC, at Ecology Action. So they're an environmental charity group. Can we really solve inflation if we axe the tax? And there is a study here. I'm going to link the study in the chat real quick, because I want y'all to be as informed as I am. I don't want you guys to just think that I'm churning out propaganda here. A recent study from the Institute for Research on Public Policy shows that fear about emission pricing, carbon tax, driving inflation are more political spin than truth. New study shows that carbon pricing has little effect on inflation. And this is, I'm going to say it again, guys, this is what conservatives always do. They can't ever discuss the elephant in the room. The real reason behind why you're struggling and I'm struggling. They can never go after the elephant in the room. There's got to be a scapegoat, always. That's the only way conservative politics works. The report shows that the carbon tax only accounted for about 0.5% of overall increases to consumer costs since 2019, while the overwhelming majority of increases came from areas like volatile global energy prices and supply chain interruptions. Combined with slow growth in income, that's a big one, these factors are the true drivers of the accountability crisis. It's time for those pushing the axe the tax narrative to stop their political spin on behalf of fossil fuel companies, corporations, which, yes, that's a big part of it, guys. That's an absolutely huge part of this whole thing. Okay, and if you don't believe me, okay, go look up the history of a lot of the history and connections of a lot of these people in the Canadian Conservative Party. You're going to see some interesting connections and some interesting backgrounds. And focus on real solutions for struggling Canadians. And this is like chronically unlike, so please give that a like and a share if you can. Because I'm a huge fan of dispelling this kind of nutty ass propaganda personally. And again, like, I'm not the one here saying, like, you know, the carbon tax is base, actually. I think the solution needs to be regulating the industries and corporations. The industries of corporations in general, across the board. We need better regulation, and our government should be doing that. And they're not. They're passing the cost on to people, and even if it's a much lesser cost than PP and his rich billionaire friends would have you believe, it's still a cost I don't think should be passed on to consumers. Mostly because, I'm sorry, the working class, and we've broken down the debt problem and just how bad Canadians are struggling, and spoiler alert, it's a lot worse than you might think. You know, at the end of the day, like, we're kind of tapped out. The working class is tapped out. We can't deal with any more burdens. We need relief, any kind of material relief. The last thing we need is more bullshit piled on top of, like, because our paychecks already get spread like nowhere. God help the people on Social Security or disability, because their shit isn't going anywhere to begin with. Yeah. Whenever you get that ODSP check or that disability check, and it shows you the amount they think you can spend for housing, like, you can do nothing but laugh. Because there's nowhere you're going to get shelter for that amount. Sorry. That's laughable.
Oh, crazy.
It's laughable.
So no, they don't care, though. That's the problem. They just don't actually care about I do.
That's pretty much it, sadly. And I feel like that's never highlighted better than with the MAID program. And when, you know, those stories of them coming up to some people on disability saying they can't live anymore and being like, you want to just end it? It's like, no, they probably want to live their lives. They just don't want to be on the street with a disability.
Yeah.
They think that's just slow suffering and death. What they want is to live with dignity. And unfortunately, in this country, living with dignity is becoming harder and harder by the day.
And it's no real end in sight either. Neither political party is going to do anything.
And that's kind of the perfect encapsulation of Canadian politics with this carbon tax thing. We're all focusing on a thing that actually doesn't harm your life. It doesn't actually contribute to your economic woes nearly to the degree that you're being told it does. But you got the conservatives saying, if we just get rid of this thing, which, spoiler alert, they won't. If we just get rid of this thing, all of your economic woes will be gone. And meanwhile, it might make a tiny dent, but it's not going to get rid of the fundamental problem. That's our politics in Canada in a nutshell. My cats eat bugs. Mine do too, and I'm thankful for it. They're great at pest control. But anyway, damn guys, that's that's all I had for this week's show. I want to thank everybody as always for joining us. Be sure to check out INN. I hope everybody has a wonderful holidays. I personally won't be back until Thursday. Snow Himble streams, but we might be doing a PSYOP tier list, so that might be fun. Might get a bunch of people together for that one, because I sometimes roll with a crew there, where we rate all of the PSYOPs of 2024. Might be fun to do a bunch of tier lists actually, where we just rate all of the insane bullshit that 2024 had to offer. Because oh my god, was there a lot of bullshit. Anyway, Yeti, my friend, do you have any final thoughts about 2024?
No, I just want to thank you for taking care of the show for so long while I've been Minecrafting in real life.
It's no problem. You got a lot of shit to build.
It's never ending. Actually, it's a lot of fun though, to be honest. No, I just want to wish everyone a happy holidays and Merry Christmas. All that fun stuff.
All right. Well, yep. Me as well. I hope you guys all have a awesome holidays. Are you doing a Thursday show? Yes, I am. I am hopefully doing... I'm waiting to hear the confirmation from Greg, so harass him. But I'm waiting for the confirmation from Greg, but we might do a PSYOP tier list. And I'm sure there's going to be other crazy bullshit that drops. Yeah. Anyways, guys, that's it for tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to check out INN. Before I forget, because I'm trying to make this a habit. Nope, not making that fucking mistake again. Give me 1 sec, yo. Oh my god, are you kidding? This is so annoying. It's making me two-factor I hate two-factor authorization. I swear, it's making logging... It's gonna get to the point where logging in is just the most annoying shit. This is going to get to the point where logging in is just impossible. Oh my god, suspicious activity. Can I just please go to the fucking thing I wanted to go to? Oh my lord. Okay, here we go. Jesus Christ. Everybody be sure to follow us on YouTube. We do have a YouTube channel. The Maple Files, youtube.com/@the_maple_files. So that's us. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in, everybody, and yeah, keep questioning everything.